not buying into it. Not buying into it whatsoever. Yes, the Phillies get a very dominant win today. They do. They win 12-3 in the final game against the Washington Nationals in the series. They win by a score of 12-3. Very, very convincing. But it's just that it's very underwhelming knowing what happened the past two nights, including last night's doubleheader, where you could have won last night's game, but Brandon Workman did Brandon Workman things, and you blew that game. And you blew that chance right there. It's going to be, it's interesting because you win this game, and if you look at the standings, the Phillies are still very neck and neck. It's honestly, like I said in the last video, the Phillies are still going to be in this thing till the very end because every team around them that's contending for wild card spot and also the second place spot with the Marlins, they all suck. They all suck. And that's why the Phillies are still in the contention for all of this. And that makes it more frustrating because if the Phillies won at least 2 more games in this series against the Washington Nationals, they probably could have found themselves in a better spot in the wild card, maybe even second place, because the Marlins just lost their third straight game against the Atlanta Braves. And that's a 4-game series right there, and they play tomorrow as well. And I think with the Marlins right now in the standings, if they were to lose tomorrow, they would be tied with the Phillies. So right now the Marlins hold, I think, at least a game and a half above the Phillies right now for that second place spot. But with the win tonight, the Phillies are a half game out of the second wild card spot, depending if the Giants win their game against the Colorado Rockies, but that game is, I think, it's like halfway through. So you probably won't find that out for at least the next hour and a half, 2 hours at tops, hopefully. So it was a good win. It was a good win, but I'm just like, I'm so Phillied out. I am. I'm done with the Phillies. I want to stop watching them, but this team is going to be in until the very end. Zach Eflin, out of all the pitchers in our rotation to step up, it's Zach Eflin. And his past 2 outings, he had the complete game in the doubleheader against the Toronto Blue Jays, and he almost goes the distance tonight. He does go into the 9th inning, but Joe Girardi pulls him after he allows a Juan Soto home run, but with no outs. I think it was a 2-run home run in that fact. But Zach Eflin, he dealt tonight. He stepped up big time for this team, and the offense came out swinging too. Bryce Harper had 2 home runs in this game, a bunch of home runs too. Andrew McCutchen gets a home run. Didi Gregorius, Andrew Knapp with a home run. It's just the offense. Where was this the rest of the series? Where was this against Anibal Sanchez? Where was this against Wolf? Where was this against the guy, even though the Phillies did score 7 runs last night, where was all this offense the rest of the series? Because we definitely could have used an offense like this, especially against 2 pitchers that had an above 7 ERA. I'm just going to put it right there. Could have had that offense those 2 nights ago. Would have been very nice, and you probably would have had yourselves a better spot in the playoffs. And it's just, this win, even though it's a win, it's a win. It's still very frustrating, because you knew, where was this the past few days? That's all I'm going to say right there. And if you look at Eflin's stat line on the night, goes 8 strong innings, allows 6 hits, 3 earned runs, 1 walk, and 9 strikeouts with the 1 home run allowed to Juan Soto in the 9th inning. Then Connor Brogdon comes in after Eflin gets taken out, shuts down the door, and the Phillies win 12-3. And like I said, the offense went crazy tonight. The offense went absolutely berserk, and it starts in the top of the 1st inning. Bryce Harper gets it going with an opposite field home run to start the offense for the Phillies, and they take a 1-0 lead. And Bryce Harper, the whole situation going on with his back issue, and JT in last night's press conference was talking about Bryce Harper. Maybe he's letting out more than he actually is, or he's letting out less than he actually should be about his back issues. So who knows if Bryce Harper's back issues have been bothering him for quite some time, and he just hasn't been letting it on as he's been telling us. So that could be an issue, but today the back issues didn't look like they were a problem because he was crushing the ball, and he also got intentionally walked 3 times into this ball game. Washington did not want to pitch to him, even though he did hit 2 home runs in this ball game. And the Phillies in the top of the 3rd inning, they get bases juiced. JT Realmuto steps up to the plate, and he grounds into a force out, which does score a run. But then Didi Gregorius can't drive in a run, nor can Gene Segura drive in a run right there. So it's still 2-0 Phillies after 3 innings. But then going into the bottom of the 5th, Washington manages to get a runner on. Yan Gomes gets a single. Then Luis Garcia manages to drive him home. There was a wild pitch in beforehand, which allowed Gomes to get to 3rd base. And then that ensuing single allowed Washington to score that run. So they made it a 2-1 lead right there. But then the Phillies respond right after. In the top of the sixth, Bryce Harper once again goes opposite field, and it goes into the bullpen, and it's a 3-1 Phillies lead. Bryce Harper absolutely crushing the ball through halfway throughout this game. Where was this in the first 3 games of this series? I'm just saying, where was this Bryce Harper in the first 3 games? I love you, Bryce, but where was that? Where was this power at? I want to know. And the Phillies, they continue to hit the baseball. And this goes into the top of the 8th inning. And Eflin, throughout this entire game, he's dealing. Some Nationals, they get on a few times around each inning or something like that. And Eflin manages to get the job done. And he had very low pitch counts in each inning. I think that his highest pitch count in an inning was like between 15 and 20. He was dealing today. He was getting through innings. He could have gone the distance, but Joe Girardi decided to take him out right after that 9th inning home run. I kind of wish that he went the distance because just like, why do you have to waste the bullpen arm right there? But hey, it's Joe Girardi's decision. Get Zach Eflin out there, rest him maybe more for the next few days, even though he's probably not going to be used in the series against Tampa Bay. But hey, rest him if the Phillies make the playoffs, because where it's lining up right now, if the Phillies were to make the playoffs, it lines up with the Tampa Bay series. First game, Vince Velasquez. Saturday's game, Zach Wheeler. And Sunday's game, the final game of the season, Aaron Nola against Tampa Bay. And if the Phillies were to make the playoffs, the first game of that playoff series would be Zach Eflin pitching if everything schedules out and pans out the right way it should. That's also what the Phillies make the playoffs at the same time. So it's big moments right here from Zach Eflin. He's been stepping up, which is nice, but sadly he was the only pitcher to step up in the past few weeks, sadly. So we go into that top of the 8th inning. Andrew McCutchen starts it off with a bomb to left field. He makes it 4-1 Phillies, and the Phillies keep adding those base runners. A couple base runners get on. Alec Boehm gets on. Bryce Harper gets on once again. Gene Segura manages to drive them all in on a single, and it becomes a 6-1 Phillies lead right there. And then we go into the top of the 9th. The Phillies continues to get those base runners on. Actually, in the top of the 8th inning, the Phillies batted around. 9 batters come to the plate, and they do score 2 runs in that inning to make it a 6-1 lead. Then we go into that top of the 8th inning. A couple base runners get on. Alec Boehm gets on. Bryce gets on. This is when we start to pinch hit for a couple guys too. Roman Quinn does pinch hit for JT Realmuto. I guess just to give him the rest and the rest of the night off, just because the Phillies were up by so much at this point. So Didi Gregorius comes to the plate. 2 runners on, and then Didi Gregorius hits a bomb, and it's a 3-run home run right there, and the Phillies go up by a score of 9-2, but they're not done there. More base runners get on, and it's Andrew Knapp hitting a 3-run bomb, and the Phillies go up by a score of 12-1. And that's your offense right there. Well, like I said, where was this the rest of the series in the previous couple of games? I just want to know. I just really, really want to know right there. And then you go into the bottom of the 9th inning. Juan Soto leads off with that 2-run bomb. Zach Eflin gets taken out of the game. Connor Brockton comes in, shuts the door down, and the Phillies win this game by a score of 12-3. The Phillies are 1 game below 500. They're 28-29. And I just want to look at the standings once again just to make sure that I'm right. Go to these postseason standings. So as of right now, I think the Brewers lost their game to the Cincinnati Reds. And just watching that Cincinnati highlight feed on Twitter, and you see Trevor Bauer on the mound just screaming after every out he got. It's just like, why can't we have a pitcher that gets that pumped up, that electric when the games matter? It just, with the Phillies the past few days, they just seem so lifeless. I guess Zach Eflin is that guy for us right now, because Zach Eflin has been pitching great in very high pressure situations in the past few days. The doubleheader against the Blue Jays, it goes the complete distance. Even though it was a doubleheader, it's still a complete game. And then he goes the 8 strong innings in tonight's game. Could have gone the full game, but I guess Joe Girardi decided, okay, that was enough after that home run. Just rest him for the rest of the night. So, Zach Eflin stepped up, and let's look at these standings right here. So, after the Brewers lost today against the Cincinnati Reds, the Giants are still technically in that second wildcard spot, and the Phillies are a half game behind the Giants in that second wildcard spot right there. If we look at the scores for around the rest of the league right now, just because there's a lot of games that play tomorrow that do impact the Phillies situation right here. So if we look at the rest of the games that were happening today, Miami, they lost to the Braves. Sixto Sanchez went on the mound, and they lost. The Brewers, they lost to the Cincinnati Reds. I would say the Cardinals did lose once again to the Royals, so that's something right there to look at, because they're technically involved in this race as well. With the Brewers and the Reds, technically they're all fighting for that second place spot right there, and also the wild card, so the Cardinals are definitely a team you want to look out for just in case they fall down a little bit. And that's also going to be heavily involved in tomorrow and also the weekend as well with the St. Louis Cardinals. So they lost, and currently with the San Francisco Giants game, they're in the bottom of the 5th inning. It's currently a tied game at 2 runs apiece. So let's see if the Rockies can put a little bit of hope down with the San Francisco Giants right there. So for tomorrow's games, there's Game 4 between the Rockies and the Giants right there. But then also the Marlins, they had a 4-game series. That's going to wrap up tomorrow with the Atlanta Braves. So let's see if the Braves can sweep out the Marlins right there, give some more help for the Phillies, if that all goes to plan right there. Because if the Marlins lose tomorrow, the Phillies are currently on a 28-29 record. The Marlins, I think, are I would say they are 28-28. So if the Marlins lose tomorrow, they would have the same exact record as the Phillies. So I don't know with the tiebreaker rules and stuff like that. I think the rule is that if you have more wins in your division, that breaks the tiebreaker right there. So I'm not sure the difference between the Phillies and the Marlins win differential in their own division. I would assume the Marlins have more at this point, but who knows, it could be the Phillies as well. So if the Marlins would lose tomorrow against the Atlanta Braves, technically both teams would be tied for second place. It's just depending on who gets the tiebreaker right there, depending on their division wins. And then, like I said, the Giants play tomorrow, so that's going to be a major impact on the wild card spot right there. And also the St. Louis Cardinals, they take on the Milwaukee Brewers. So that's something a little bit involved right there with the wild card spot. So technically, you would want St. Louis to win that game just because the Brewers are also creeping up at the same time. Because as of right now, the Reds are still in that wild card spot. And the same thing with the St. Louis Cardinals. I think why the Cardinals are in second place in the Central Division just because they had that long break due to what happened with them with the COVID-19 situation. They've played less games than the Cincinnati Reds, so that's why they hold the second place spot in the Central Division. And then we go to the Friday action. We all know the Phillies will take on the Tampa Bay Rays, which is going to be a very tough series. Tampa Bay, like I said, they clinched the AL East. Oh my god, I forgot what division they were in for some reason. It's been a very long Phillies season. They clinched the AL East crown. And who knows what's going to happen with the Tampa Bay Rays if they rest some guys, rest a couple of starters right there. Maybe it'll be an easier situation for the Phillies, but you never know with this damn team. They can make the a guy from Class A come up and he looks like a Cy Young winner. That's just the way the Phillies roll at this point. So, and also the Tampa Bay Rays, they have one of the best bullpens in Major League Baseball. So that could be a tough situation right there for the Phillies. So the bats have to come prepared, and also the starting pitching really has to come prepared. And I'm assuming, especially like when I keep talking about the second place spot with the Marlins, it's going to be very key. Because tomorrow they finish up their series with the Braves, and then they have a weekend series to close out the season against the New York Yankees. The Marlins have one of the toughest schedules in this final week. They played the Braves. They lost all 3 games to the Braves so far. They'll play them tomorrow to see what happens right there. And then they close it out saying, go ahead, go play the Marlins. Go play the Yankees. I'm not saying the Yankees are going to sweep the Marlins. That's definitely not guaranteed. But that's going to be a very tough series for the Marlins right there. And if the Phillies can, you never know, get a couple of wins right here against the Tampa Bay Rays, and say if the Marlins lose tomorrow, they lose Friday, maybe they lose Saturday, and the Phillies win Friday, Saturday, maybe I think if everything goes right, that's what has to happen here first. So say if the Marlins lose their next 3 games, and the Phillies win their next 2 games, I would assume the Phillies clinch that second place spot just because the Marlins have no room to catch up right there. But even though I would say that the best case scenario is the Phillies have to win out, but I would say maybe if the Marlins lose their next 3 games and the Phillies win their next 2, the Phillies clinch that second place spot. If everything goes right. And that's not guaranteed because it looks like the Cardinals are going to be closing out their series against the Milwaukee Brewers to end their season off right there. And the Cincinnati Reds, I wouldn't be too worried about the Reds right now just because they're in their own world. They're fighting for that second place spot. Even though they are in the wild card, they play the Minnesota Twins, and that's going to be a tough series right there. And for the San Francisco Giants, if I could find them right now, they play the San Diego Padres. So that's going to be a tough series right there for them too. So a lot of the teams that are battling for these wildcard spots, they're going to be having themselves a tough series right here. Phillies taking on Tampa Bay, Miami taking on the Yankees, the Reds taking on the Twins, even though the Reds, I believe, are probably one of the better teams out of any team that's in the race for the wild card right now, and the Giants taking on the Padres. I would say the team that probably has it easier is the Cardinals. Even though the Cardinals have dipped the past few games right here, especially to Kansas City, it's going to be a tough task for a lot of teams that are chasing for these spots. So, if you look at the lineup for today's game, bring it back into tonight's game. So, Andrew McCutchen goes 3 for 5 with that bomb. Alec Boehm continues to hit the baseball. He is 2 for 6. Bryce Harper goes 2 for 2 with 2 home runs and 3 intentional walks right there. J.T. Realmuto goes 1 for 4. He had the RBI on that fielder's choice right there. Didi Gregorius goes 2 for 5 with that 3-run bomb in the 9th inning. Gene Segura goes 2 for 5. Jay Bruce had a sluggish night at the plate. He goes 0 for 4. Andrew Knapp goes 1 for 4 with that 3-run bomb. And Scott Kingery had a very abysmal night at the plate tonight. He goes 0 for 5 with 3 strikeouts. So, yeah, like I said, the offense needs to step up if they do want to make the playoffs. And they got to step up against Tampa Bay. Like I said, my hopes are just shot down the river. I'm just going to watch it as it goes. Basically, I'm a lunatic. I'm going to watch these last Phillies games just because it's the last few games of the season and you're not going to see this team until next spring if they don't make the playoffs. But even though if they do make the playoffs, what noise are they going to make? But it's funny, too. When I was watching this game with my father, we were talking about, like, just to say, like how I said in the last video, I said, knowing this team, they'll win their last 4 games and make the playoffs. And it's funny, my father said that when if the Phillies do make the playoffs and knowing the whole situation with the bullpen right now, let's say if the Phillies make the playoffs and the bullpen's lights out. That would be out of this world. That would be hilarious. Even though that's most likely not the reality that's going to happen. Let's just be real at this point. That's exactly not what's going to happen. So it's going to be an interesting road down the stretch for these final 3 games with the Philadelphia Phillies. And I guess let's see what can happen. Like I said, I'm just going to watch. Not going to be too hyped. Not going to be too frustrated. It is what it is at this point. Hopefully Matt Klentak gets fired at the end of the season, though. Only one can hope. So, what are your thoughts on this video? What are your thoughts on the Phillies' final victory against the Washington Nationals today? And do you have any hope for them against Tampa Bay? Do you still have hopes that the Phillies can make the playoffs, make the postseason with all the luck in the world at this point? So don't forget to leave your comments down in the comments section. Don't forget to drop a like. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you next time.